Hi guys, this is Carla here, and before I go on to review the second Rurouni Kenshin movie, I just want to make a small note that if my voice in this recording is kind of maybe a little too low or a little too loud for you, please cut me some slack here because through this I am going through a period of I'm having an ear infection right now, so I can't hear out of my left ear for the moment until this infection goes out. I'm kind of half deaf, so that not only does that affect how I hear things, but it also kind of affects my volume control. So if this is a bit too loud or a bit too low, I hope that you understand it's because of that. And I've been having this problem continuously for like the last 3 days, so sorry about that, but I really wanted to do this review precisely because if you've noticed that things haven't really been moving a lot in here in this account for like the last couple of weeks or so, it's because, with all the holidays, everybody's busy and don't have much time to watch things, let alone review things. And then the holidays came around and I got sick because that's just my karma, that I always get sick around the holidays. I caught, bad flu, and then it transformed into an ear infection, and that's where we are now. But I still wanted to do this because I saw the second Kenshin movie a couple days ago. I had already seen it before, but I saw it again, and I really wanted to review it. Because we have it open on the side, like we have a main table for it, and I haven't done anything with it, so I thought, no, it's the right time. So again, I'm very sorry if my voice is a little weird in this video. It's just I'm kind of going through stuff at the moment, so sorry about that. So as far as the movie goes, I have to say, when I first heard they were making Kenshin live-action movies, I was very skeptical. In my experience, most anime movies tend to be really bad, not necessarily because they make them to be bad or anything. And this is, even either US adaptations or even the Japanese adaptations themselves, they tend to be bad because, well, for two reasons. First, the anime tends to be a bit, most of the big ones at least tend to be a bit fantastic, and if you want to adapt that into live action, it takes a really big budget most of the time. But because it's an anime adaptation, they don't get taken as seriously as other stuff does. As like original movies do, or dramas or stuff like that. So they don't get the big budgets most of the time. So that means you end up with something where the effects look really cheap and it's kind of tacky. So in my experience, that tends to happen. And then the second thing is that because anime tends to be serialized, and you get all the big series have like a ton of episodes and big, plot arcs and stuff like that. It's really hard to condense it into a 2-hour movie. Sometimes stuff gets rushed and characters don't get treated fairly necessarily, so a lot of people just tend to not like live action adaptations of anime. However, in the last few years, there's been a couple that have been really great. So when I first heard about Kenshin live-action movies, I was like, I'm not sure about this, but then I watched the trailers and decided it looked better than I expected, so I decided to give them a try. And I really liked the first one. Maybe I will rewatch it one of these days and do a review, because I think out of 3 that are out right now for Kenshin, the first one is my favorite. But the one that I watched recently is the second one, which is titled Kyoto Inferno, and basically covers like the first half of the Shishio arc. And what I really liked about this one that I didn't necessarily like as much about the first one is the first one was all kind of small in scale. I mean, everything happened either in the dojo or in Tokyo, and just all the scenario, like the scenery and stuff, was really similar. So you didn't really skip a lot of scope, and it was very personal. Like, it was Kenshin fighting one other dude, and Megumi interacting with 1 2 other people, and Kaoru interacting with Kenshin and stuff like that. So it wasn't really big in scale. That is what I really liked about this one, is that you could immediately see that they really went all out, because already Kenshin is kind of difficult to make because it's a period piece, but you can see what high production values these movies have. They're taking it seriously, and you can see this, like, they basically recreated Meiji era Kyoto, and there were it was so big, it felt like a war. There were tons of extras running around, police officers, and so much care was taken that to have all the sets kind of be realistic and not stand out negatively. It was really great. I like the effort they put into it, and I liked that better. I saw that better in this one than in the previous one, because just the scope was bigger. This was Kenshin leaving the dojo and leaving Tokyo for a bigger place with bigger stakes. So I immediately liked that. One of the best things about these Kenshin movies are the casting, because the actor who plays Kenshin, whose name I will not attempt to remember right now because I'm sure I will butcher it, but they're written down on the side, I know. But the guy who plays Kenshin, Sato, I'm not even gonna try. This is not the guy's fault, it's my crappy memory, of course. I just can't remember his name. But he is amazing. Like, he completely embodies Kenshin as he did in the first one, and he continues to do in this one. And not just a Kenshin that is goofy, but that was something that I really liked about the Shishio arc, because we finally began to see a darker side of Kenshin and a deeper side of Kenshin, and he wasn't just a goofy dude running around. This was a guy who used to kill people and that is now being called back again to kill people, and still manages to have that humanity to him. He cares about people, he cares about who gets hurt and who doesn't, and the guy who plays him in the movie is just so good at that. So good at showing that humanity to Kenshin and that depth to Kenshin, and I just love him. I mean, he carries this movie. He carries all these 3 movies basically on his own, even though he has like a huge supporting cast. If he wasn't great, then none of this we wouldn't even be talking about this, because I wouldn't even bother watching these movies. But not just him, I mean, the whole casting was great. I mean, the guy who plays Sato, I still, like, every time I watch these movies, I'm just like kind of stupefied by how perfect he is, because he's perfect. And all the new characters that were introduced in this movie were also so damn perfect. I mean, at first I had a problem with Shishio, not necessarily because of him, but because of the costume. I mean, you imagine dude wrapped in bandages, and you think that the bandages should be really fluid, and in the movie they kind of look more structured, but then I realized, yeah, he wouldn't be walking around with just wiggly bandages, right? So I didn't mind too much, but I thought the guy who played Shishio did it perfectly. Like, seriously, that one scene in the flashback when they explain how Shishio came to be what he is now, like, before the mummy thing came about, that was fantastic. And that could have been so cheesy, by the way, because they used makeup to, like, show him all burned up. That could have been so cheesy, and it wasn't. It was friggin' terrifying. So that guy, I really liked him. But the most perfect one for the character is the guy who plays Sojiro. He's so fantastic. I mean, he's just like Sojiro should be. It's so great. And all the other ones, I mean, initially I kind of was iffy about Misao, But then I realized it's because they didn't really give her much to do, but she was okay. She was good. And the rest of the cast was pretty okay. I was worried about the guy playing Cho because he's really short, and I have a hard time imagining Cho as anything other than someone really tall. But he seems to be really short. I don't know if that's just my perception or if he really is that short. But he seems to be really short, and he seems to be really young, too. Like, the first time I saw him, I was like, he's like 12. But then he started speaking, and his mannerisms, and he tries really hard to, like, make himself take on Cho's mannerisms, and, the one closed eye thing, and the winking, and that was really great. I think he did a great job, even though he doesn't quite look like I would expect Cho to look. But I think he did a good job with that. Okina was great. Aoshi, at the beginning, he looked a little too old for me. Then I remembered he's supposed to be old. I keep forgetting. But I find him funny because, I mean, he plays Oshi really well. But at the same time, I find it funny that he's like the guy who always gets left behind. He goes to Tokyo to look for Kenshin, Kenshin looks for Kyoto. And then he goes back to Kyoto to look for Kenshin, and Kenshin's left the Aoya. And it's funny that it's almost like he can never catch up. And, and all the others were pretty great too. They changed Yahiko, for some reason, but I didn't really notice, honestly. It took me a while. Like, the first time I saw the movie, I didn't realize, and then I looked at the cast list, I was like, wait, was he a different dude? They're kids, so, I mean, he doesn't have that big of a role. Sadaisuke, Megumi, they're all amazing. Kaoru was actually given, the actress herself, she was a little bit, I mean, you could tell in the first movie that she wasn't as experienced as the other ones. In this one, she was much better, but then at the same time, they didn't give her as much to do this time around, so it's kind of, I'm not really sure which way to go, but I like her, and I think all her whatever I could see as a failing on her part this time around is mostly because of the script and not necessarily because of her. I think she's grown, and I like that a lot. Just everybody was really good. That is one of the biggest strengths of these movies, and it's the cast. As far as the plot goes, it's pretty similar to the plot of the first half of the series. I mean, they even go into the AG stuff, which I honestly didn't think they would go into there, but I really liked it. Just the Oniwabanshu things, I mean, they kind of twist things around a bit because Okina, I think he fought with Oshi, it was before everything happened in the anime, but in this they have to make some changes in order to make him fight with Okina later, I guess. And I wasn't really into his whole reason for hating Kenshin. I thought it was a little bit like there was something missing there. It's like, yeah, they killed all his men. And then all of a sudden that made him want to kill Kenshin because why? In the anime it was different. It was because his men had been working for Kanryu, who was the bad guy in the first movie. And basically Kenshin and his friends had killed them. So yeah, that was a more direct reason to seek revenge. But in this time around I didn't quite buy it. But, I just go with it. It was one of the things that I didn't necessarily like about the movie, but I go with it. I just roll with it. I know a lot of people were expecting maybe a better representation of the goodbye scene with the fireflies and stuff. I get it. You can't really rush it because you've only known Kenshin and Kaoru for 2 hours in the movie. You know, you only knew their relationship for the first 2 hours, and maybe pushing it into, like, because that's kind of the point where you say, yeah, they're in love in the anime, right? But right now they're not quite in love yet, I guess. I mean, they feel for each other, obviously. But I missed it. I didn't necessarily think it was a negative. I liked the little hints that they gave for Megumi and Sano, because I shipped them in the anime really hard. Like, they were one of my earliest ships ever. So I shipped them, and I liked the little moment they had when she was giving him the medicine to take the Kenshin and stuff. I also liked how they even gave Megumi a moment with Aoshi, which was interesting because their plotline in the anime was so. I mean, they were part of the same storyline with Kanryu, and this time around, Aoshi wasn't included in the first movie. So I thought it was interesting, and it also gives the shippers. I mean, there's people out there who ship Megumi and Aoshi, so it gives the shippers a little something to have, you know. So that was interesting. Things I didn't like about it so much. Well, mainly the fact that the 10 swords. Oh god, what was the name in Japanese? I keep forgetting. I keep trying to say Oniwabanshu, but they're not the Oniwabanshu, duh. But the 10 swords, like Shishu's 10 swords, they're so horribly underutilized. I mean, I don't think they've even mentioned any of them yet. They've just kind of been standing around. So they're very underutilized. I would have used them more. I mean, we saw a lot of Cho, but none of the others. So I would have liked to see that, especially since they were fighting in Kyoto. I mean, some of them were supposed to participate in that fight, and that just got glossed over. I don't like Hoji. I guess he's meant to be the way he's in the anime, and he's very over the top in the anime, but at the same time I didn't like him in the anime, so I'm bound to not like him here. I didn't like Yumi either. I don't know, she's just kind of there. Whatever. And another thing that I didn't like, and this is most definitely my biggest gripe with the movie, is Kaoru's treatment at the end. Because when she was fighting in Kyoto alongside Oniwabanshu, that was Kaoru's moment, okay? And for someone who got so much flack at the beginning of the series, and indeed in the first movie, about not really doing anything and, you know, getting herself kicked out of fights more often than not, and being the damsel in distress. This was one of the big criticisms that people had over the original Kenshin manga and anime. I thought maybe the movies might correct a little bit of that and actually give Kaoru some kick-ass moments in the movies. It didn't happen in the first one, and I was really hoping for it to happen in the second one, because this is when she has her big fight, right? Her fight in the Aoya with the Oniwabanshu against Shishu's 10 swords. That was her big fight, and they could have given her some really cool moments, but instead, what did they do? They have her captured by Shishu, thrown into the sea, and used a spade for Kenshin to come and get her like a damsel in distress. Don't like. Also, what the heck was she doing with that, like, stick? I mean, she's a kendo master. Have her use a bokken or something, or a shinai or something. I mean, Yahiko was fighting with a bokken, wasn't he? Or a shinai? I don't know which one of the two it was. It was really fast, but he had a wooden sword, right? So what was Kaoru doing with that stick? Besides being highly inefficient, you know, it was really dumb for me. So I thought they could have given her more of a spotlight and not used her to just be a bait for Kenshin. And I understand that they needed Kenshin to wash up ashore in that island or whatever part of Japan it is. If Japan is an island, duh. But I get that they needed him to wash ashore there so that Hiko could find him. But at the same time, they could have done that some other way. I mean, come on, give the girl a break. She needs to, she can be so kick-ass when she really wants, and she's just not given a chance. She wasn't given the chance in the manga, she's not given the chance in the anime, and she's not been given the chance in the movies either. That is wrong. And that is pretty much my biggest gripe with this movie. The rest of it I really loved. I mean, even it had a lot less humor than the previous one, but there were still parts that I really made me laugh a lot. Like, you know, when Misao and Kenshin are fighting over the sword. Thought that was great because it reminded me so much of the way it happened in the anime. The fights were amazing. I mean, that fight between Kenshin and Sojiro, that was fantastic, man. And I thought Sojiro's little, you know, jumpy thingies were gonna be really cheesy. They weren't. They were great, and that fight was amazing. The choreography in these movies is just top notch. Just the whole Cho thing with the temple and the reverse blade sword from the sword master. The whole thing was great. Just all the fights were amazing. They really were. I mean, there was so much good in this thing. I don't think I liked it as much as the first one, because the first one is just, it holds a special place in my heart just because I was kind of expecting them to destroy one of my most beloved animes ever, and they didn't, and it was great, and I love that movie solely because of that. And I don't think that's kind of a place in my heart that any other Kenshin movie can reach, but I really like this one. I thought they did, like, even if they had to shuffle some things around, they did justice to the first half of the Shishio saga. I thought that was pretty great, and you know, I have those nitpicks, particularly the Kaoru thing, but I still really like the movie, and I really recommend it to everybody who, like I used to, everybody who thinks that you can't really have good anime adaptations into live action. Yes, you can. Kenshin is the proof. You just have to really take it seriously and give it the production values it deserves, and you can actually have something good, even if you have to split it into two, like with Kenshin. But I just think it's a really great movie, and all of these Kenshin movies are really great. So maybe I will watch the other two soon, and watch them again soon, and come back with reviews for them. But for now, that's about it for this one. I should really quit talking right now because my ear is killing me. But I hope that everybody who's into anime gives this movie a chance, because really the whole series deserves a chance because they're really good movies, unlike most of the other crap adaptations that we have. Dragon Ball Evolution. So yeah, give that a chance, and as usual, if you guys want to see more, listen to more of our reviews for other different movies, be sure to visit our website at geekypub.com. We have reviews for movies, but we also have reviews for TV shows, anime, comics, manga, books, games. We have a ton of stuff in there, so be sure to check that out. And if you guys want to be notified as soon as possible whenever we upload a new review, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You should find the link right below this frame, because our videos, our reviews are on video, so they usually go up on YouTube before they even hit the website. So that is the fastest way to know when we upload a new video right away, and notification will go out to you. So be sure to subscribe. And that's it for now. I will see you guys in my next review, if my ear ever lets me hear stuff again, because right now I'm this close to pulling a Van Gogh. I'm not even kidding. But let's not end this on a morbid note, so I'm just gonna say bye. See you guys in my next review.